Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Secondsies Cubed. And this time, this is, of course, with your hosts, Ayla Hadi, Jessica Galletta, and Allison Weaver. And we are coming to you once again with more arts and culture from many places and spaces around our beautiful world. So we're very much looking forward to sharing this time with you, especially if you're interested in smaller spaces. You may really enjoy this one on Coral Sea Islands. So we're very much looking forward to sharing that the same. And one other thing to note, ladies and gentlemen, is that the main purpose, of course, of this podcast is to discover what like a work from one of these spaces or places or involving one of these spaces or places. And of course, we are looking at to engage with diverse landscapes of the arts from grand stages of major cities to intimate community-driven performances and films and such in far-flung territories and dependencies. And so we're going into the heart of performance culture, exploring how each region expresses its identity, history, and emotion through dance theater, arts, music, and so forth. And through this discussion and rating round and reflections, and also sharing a few arts and culture related news and trivia, we're trying to honor both old and new, seeking universal truths that bind all artistic endeavors together. And this time, we're going to have Jessica sharing about Coral Sea Islands. So go ahead.
Okay, great. So I am just pulling up something really quick. Okay. Today, the Coral Sea Islands are one of the coasts of Australia. So it is a part of Australia. There are several islands and also where the Great Barrier Reef is. The Coral Sea Islands territory has islands situated in an area about 780,000 square kilometers of the Coral Sea, extending from the outer edge of the Great Barrier Reef. The islands are quite small with some grass and low vegetation. They're one of the islands is inhabited by the Meteorological Bureau staff, unmanned, and then there's unmanned weather stations, beacons, and a lighthouse on several of the other islands and reefs. So in 1969, something called the Coral Sea Islands Act was passed to extend the bound to establish this as an Australian territory. And in 1997, this act was amended to extend the boundaries of the Coral Sea Islands territory around Elizabeth and Middletown reefs. And those reefs, which are approximately 150 kilometers north of Lord Howe Island in the Tasman Sea. And it's really, this is a very important area because of our environment and protecting the environment there and protecting the coral reef. And I'm reading something. So it's also, there's like, and actually this is where, so the flags here, the one on the left is the official Australian flag, but I found this flag on the right-hand side, the pink flag, which is not the official flag of the Coral Sea Islands, but in 2004, as a protest, a group of LGBTQ people declared the Coral Sea Islands as a micronation for gay and lesbian people because they were protesting the outlaw of same-sex marriage. This micronation was then dissolved in 2017 once Australia passed laws to allow for same-sex marriage. So we love that here. And so that's what that flag represents. I also think it's very campy and it's very on theme for the work we're about to discuss today. And this is a map of the Coral Sea Islands. If you are interested, I'll just pause and I can look at it. I'm not a cartographer, so I have not much to comment on it.
Well, it's right off the coast of Australia, so if people want to look at
Yeah.
Southeast Asia. Yeah.
Yes, basically. So there's the map of like what it looks like. So today we're discussing, and I chose Muriel's wedding, and wedding shows up really terribly on this. Sorry about that. As I think this is a significant work, and it's very significant to the geography of this area and the culture, quotes, culture of this area, and just it's like we'll get into it. So Muriel's wedding is set in a fictional town that's called Porpoise Spit, but it's this fictional town is based on the actual city Gold Coast, which is in the state of
Mhm.
Queensland. So that is like a fake city. Porpoise Spit is a funny name. So, and this is a part of Australia that they call the Deep North. And during the 1970s and 80s, they started calling it this when the state was riven by extensive political and financial scandals and was run by a conservative, also corrupt government under the leadership of the redneck demagogue Joe Bjelk Peterson. It's also a huge tourist area, and there's a lot of international tourists that come here. And if from the movie you see, there's a lot of international business people that have interests in the town, and just like that in real life on these resort towns. And a lot of these resorts, the high-rise condos, the malls, and tourist hotels and resorts were largely built with Japanese investment money. And and it pays a nod to all of these quote these landmarks, which aren't it's to call it a landmark would be ironic because they're not. It's just commercialism, and it's just like investment money, and it's all like shiny and fake. But at the end of the film, Muriel and her friend Rhonda, when they're leaving for Sydney, they enthusiastically say goodbye to their childhood town. As they're leaving it forever, and they say goodbye to all the cheap like high rises and the buildings. So it's like bidding farewell, and also like kind of a nod to some of the cheap landscape or the landscapes, the landmarks of Australia's coastal towns. Um, so I'm going to read some analysis. I found someone's summary, and he brought up some political things that were present in the film. So one of the main things is that Muriel, it's like a small town. If you're from the U.S. perspective, it's like Australia's version of podunk, like country people, or just I feel like in the U.S., it reminds me of the Jersey Shore. So it's like Jersey Shore people, and Muriel's family, she has a very unhappy home. Her dad sucks. He doesn't respect her mother, and his children, ignores his own children and neglects them, and openly has affairs and is careless. And he's also a corrupt local politician. And he, throughout the film, meets with Japanese developers because he wants them to build things and make him money, and he wants more political power. And he's also, you see this as like a typical financial um person, a typical financial like white guy politician that's like low-key racist, and also doesn't and misogynist, doesn't like people, doesn't think of anyone but himself. He's what's called so Bill Heslop is the name of Muriel's dad, is a hilariously stereotyped representative of the sleazy, corrupt Queensland politics referred to that are a part of the Gold Coast like city, um, which is fictionally Porpoise Spit. He mythologizes himself as Billy the Battler, and battler is an emotionally charged Australian term referring to someone, usually of the working class, who struggles continually and with great perseverance against heavy odds. So he gives himself this moniker to be like he's a man of the working class when he is very clearly not. And I feel like a lot of populist leaders do that. So, but we won't talk about that because that's not what this is about. The antithesis of a battler is a bludger, someone who cadges off others and avoids responsibility. So I would say that Bill Heslop, Muriel's dad, is more of a bludger. And her mom is really depressed and also neglected not just by her husband, but her children. And, just in like this really deep depression and doesn't have much going for her. So these are the themes of the film Muriel's Wedding. The coming of age, self-actualization. So I'm going from like lightest to darkest themes because this is a very light film, but it's also like the themes are very
It's a
dark. Like when you're
comedy.
watching it, you're like, wait, this is sad. But
But that's
it's
also
all like very
Australian humor,
bright.
eh?
I love it. Anyway, so coming of age, Muriel's coming of age or Muriel's self-actualization, because in the beginning of the film, she's also very depressed and is very much in her shell and has no sense of who she is and, just lets people push her around. Actually, in the early scene, she's friends with these four women who were the popular girls at her school. And then they're like, basically bring her to dinner to say that they don't want to hang out with her anymore. And they kick her out of the friend group because she's too depressing to be around. And that's a very mean thing to do. And if that's ever happened to you, I am so sorry. And those people suck.
Yep.
Yes. And friendship is another theme from that because she really, I think, comes into herself with the help of her friend Rhonda. And I think it's a really great homage to friendship. Even though Muriel's Wedding, you think it's about a wedding, it's going to be a love story. If anything, I think it's a love story between friends. I don't think it's kind of the opposite of romantic. We see toxic family dynamics, some of which I got into. Muriel, I feel, is very complicit in it. I don't think she's a victim of her surroundings where she came from. It's just, like one of those small towns that's just like quicksand. Like it just sinks you deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And it's really hard to crawl out of. And you see in the film, she tries to. So I feel the toxic family dynamics we see from the corrupt politician, and that corruption leads into his interpersonal life. And she doesn't respect her dad, but she doesn't respect her mom either. And I think she sees her mother's weakness in herself, and it's like you're worried about becoming your parent, but I think she's just as complicit in the dynamic, in the toxic dynamics, in the toxic family. Like I think she's a pretty toxic person in the family dynamic as well. And we see
Mm-hmm.
socioeconomic inequality because I mean we see a lot of middle class people, but we see her dad trying to like get money from people. He's very sleazy. So it's like very scrappy. Like he thinks he's working class, but he wants to be rich, and he doesn't care about how he goes about it. He has no morals. And she also dreams of like big, like, and all the finer things and having nice things. And it's a resort town. So a lot of rich people are coming in and out. A lot of rich money is flowing through. But the people that live there permanently, the townspeople, are actually working class, and they're oftentimes the ones their labor and is exploited, and they don't benefit from the extravagance displays of wealth that surround them. So there's the socioeconomic inequality that is present, and there's no class mobility options for people, or any options. Her sibling, her brother and sister, and she at the beginning of this film are unemployed, which was a big problem in the 90s in Australia. And I would say currently now in the recession in the US, and there's a lot of high unemployment or young people struggling to get jobs. This was a similar thing was happening in Australia in the 90s. And this movie was a reflection of that. And so we see Muriel just kind of aimless, but wanting more, but not particularly ambitious. And she copes through materialism and escapism. She's obsessed with ABBA, and she just has her little fantasy world with like this music that is a part of it, and she just dreams of this grand wedding and the prince. And I think that's an interesting point, is that Muriel dreamed of a wedding but not of a marriage. And that you think of a wedding, it's like it's all about her, it's all about the bride, because then you see the images in the film when she fantasizes about it, and then when she actually has a wedding, the only thing she cares about is that she is the center of attention. And then she gets the wedding of her dreams, but then she has to be married, and then living with the reality of a marriage. And the person she marries is this man from South Africa. He's an Olympic swimmer who wants to join the Australian Olympic team and is marrying her for his citizenship so he can qualify. And she is very much a willing, consenting part of this deal because there's a promise of a lot of money, and she thinks that marrying this Olympic athlete will get her this like grand, glamorous life. But when they're not very compatible, and it ends up being really hard because she's living with someone that she barely knows and barely likes.
Mm-hmm.
The fantasy that she builds in her head in her life distracts Muriel. It keeps her emotionally immature and naive to the realities around her. And I think it also because it keeps her stuck, because when you're busy fantasizing about, your brain is all like, your energy and your brain energy goes towards that, and you're not taking advantage of the resources around you or looking for real opportunities. You're trying to reach for something that isn't there, and it comes from your own personal dissatisfaction and self-loathing. She's hoping her mental escapism, and then she also literally tries to run away from her problems. She goes to the big city. She moves to Sydney with Rhonda. And Rhonda was like someone she went to high school with, and they reconnected, and Rhonda is like really cool and shows her this amazing life and just how like being carefree, and shows her how to be confident. We really see like the beauty of this friendship is like a good friendship, unlike the friendship with those women that kicked her out of their group, the four women. They both rub off on each other. Like they both learn something from the other person. They see each other's good qualities, and that becomes a part of who they are as a person, and it makes their lives fuller. And Rhonda shows Muriel how to be self-confident for the first time in her life. That's so we see it's you can even and Toni Collette is a brilliant actress, and she plays this so well. She's really great at the beginning of her being so stuck in herself and very unconfident, like the awkward girl next door. And then her subtlety as Muriel progresses and makes choices in the film, and then the very end when has a little self-realized and has a little more insight and a little bit more maturity, and hopefully a happier ahead of her. And she's also Toni Collette. What I really loved is that she's great at that the duality of the light and the darkness in the film. And I watched an interview where she was reflecting on it many years later, more recently, and she said because she came from a difficult background, not quite like Muriel, but she related to Muriel and the story, and she's able to capture that and to really like go all in with the campiness of it, but also be like have this like nuanced performance underneath it all. And she did both at the same time. It seemed so effortless. So it was fun. And she sought happiness and the running away, the escapism. She's seeking happiness outside of herself. This comes when you do that, when you externalize your healing, it shows a lack of self-worth. And and a lot of people do this. You think you have to become someone else. And she even changes her name to Muriel. And for her, the wedding was the ultimate prize. She's like, if I become this new person, this amazing person, that's like not the sucky person that I currently am, and from this shit town, I will win this prize of having this big wedding, and my life will be awesome. It'll be like an ABBA song and everything. Her friend Rhonda brought her out of her shell, like I said. And however, though, and this is where it gets dicey, once Rhonda became disabled, she had a tumor in her spine, which she had surgery, which made her a paraplegic. And then she had to move back home, and Muriel discarded her. She could have helped her stay in Sydney, but she's like, oh, I'm going to marry this guy instead. So they actually have a falling out because Muriel, when she starts to gain self-confidence, I should say consciousness, she actually leans into the shallow superficiality. Like she wants to become like the four women, the popular girls. So she she's chasing something that's very superficial. And she had something really real with Rhonda, and Rhonda was a real person. And their friendship falls apart because Muriel doesn't appreciate what she has. And I think that's true with her mother. At the beginning of the film, like her mom is not cruel to her or mean to her in any way, but she's like doesn't treat her mom well, and she steals from her mother. She learns from her mistakes, though, apparently, I think, I hope, and faces the darkness of her life, her circumstances, because you actually see her standing up to her father at the end. She burns like the backyard, the trees in the backyard, and being like, I'm not taking care of the siblings. That's your job as our father. And he even says there's a speech where the monologue, she says, we're not useless and they're not useless, and you shouldn't make them feel like they are useless. So we don't really know much about her siblings, and she doesn't even bother to take care of them either. It seems like she doesn't care about them. However, she does say to her dad, like, do your job, take care of your children. And I do think I like that she stepped up. It was like, set a hard boundary, but I also think that she still abandoned them, and I didn't like that. And
Yeah.
she did assert her independence, which is also a good thing. So my question for you guys, the discussion question, which we can go to once I'm done, is Muriel even a good person, actually? Think about that. So we'll
Well,
talk about the
so
culture. I
so
want to
just
briefly
a
touch. I'm not done.
placeholder.
I'm not done.
We have a
I'm not
Do you
done.
have a placeholder screen for later? This is a mess.
Yeah. We can go back to Muriel's wedding.
Okay, cool, cool, cool. I was just not sure if
Or
you
we
had
could
it.
do, I like this cultural significance
Yeah,
one.
that can work too. Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
So just for later,
So,
don't forget your
yeah.
placeholders. Thanks. Yeah. Keep
Okay.
going.
End scene. So, Muriel's wedding was culturally significant for several reasons because it put Australian people on the map. It was a slice of Australian life. Then it portrayed everyday working people, and it is a time capsule of this moment in history in the 90s in Australia, in these coastal towns, and the very real political and economic realities that these people were facing, and how it bled into their interpersonal lives, and how it really hurts people and in the end, and how it's empty and shallow. So also the visuals, and like the fact that, in contrast to what the movie is actually about, is this like romp. It's like this, you think it's a romantic comedy. Like I really thought it would be a romantic comedy when I went in to watch it. And it just was, and then it's not. But it's so like bright, and everyone's like, and flashy, and everyone's wearing these ridiculous outfits, and they're doing, and there's some musicality to it. They, Rhonda and Muriel perform and lip sync to Waterloo, which is my favorite scene in the whole film. It's so
Yeah.
iconic. If you're a musical theater person, you'd probably love it. So I am pulling up Susan Sontag's a quote from her notes on camp that I think is applicable to the film. So in her 10th note, note number 10, camp sees everything in quotation marks. It's not a lamp, but a quote lamp. Not a woman, but a quote woman. To
True
perceive in
that.
camp, to perceive camp in objects and persons is to understand being as playing a role. It is the farthest extension in sensibility of the metaphor of life as theater. And I think this is very much what Muriel is, who she is as a person. She is being as playing an idea of a person that she wants to be, even down to her as a bride, her being a bride and her getting her wedding. Like her visions for her ambitions, if you would call them that, are very superficial.
Yeah.
And on that note, I'm interested to see what you guys think, and I would love to go back to that question. What is Muriel even a good person, actually? Discuss. I have my thoughts, but I want to hear
I
your
have my
thoughts.
tea, so we're good.
Go for it.
I'm awake. I have my tea.
What's
Okay.
up?
Literal
Good
tea.
morning, everyone. Uh, so I think something that sticks out to me about her character is that she's so conflicted. Like she sees this stuff happening all around her. She wants to get out, right? But then it's like some of the poison from her family, or a lot of it, still coming down, trickling down the
Yeah.
generational line, if you will. So to answer your question, I'm going to be slightly ambiguous because I think that good, quote unquote, good and evil, it's like every person is kind of, in my view, divided interiorly between the two and fighting between the two constantly. And I think that some people maybe succeed in fighting the more dark side of themselves than others, to be honest. And others don't.
Yeah.
And I think from my side, I think she's a hurting person. I don't necessarily think I would say good or bad. She's a hurting person. She's made certain choices. Part of that was based on her family, right? But
Mm-hmm.
part of it, were her own choices. Part of those things were her own choices, like rejecting her friend. And so that's where I'm kind of like conflicted because it seems to me that there are moments of light and beauty coming from her, like how she cares for her. So she actually called her dad out from this. That's hard to do. But
Yeah.
but at the same time, it's like she's living for something just material as well, because she had such a hard past, right? And
Yeah.
now she's just grasping and reaching as much as she can. So that's it.
Yeah, that's like way kinder of an assessment than I had at first. And I do see what you are saying with her being conflicted and the light that comes from her. And I think Toni Collette really captured that beautifully because I think she, as a probably, I don't know her as a human being, has a lot of light and she is such a great actress. And she was really able to bring that into the role and also while portraying a very complex character. And she made an unlikable character very likable. So I
Yeah.
also wonder if the light and the joy from Muriel is just like her child, like being very childlike. I think she probably hasn't matured emotionally past like early adolescence.
Like a lot of people anyway.
Yeah, definitely. It's very common. It's all too common. And I think, and now when I was listening to you, Allison, I was like, well, her role models kind of suck. Like her dad and her mom, like they're both two extremes of one being really corrupt, and then her mom is just a total victim. And I'd rather we
Right.
avoid spoilers for the film because there's
But you
something
can
with her
spoil on
mom.
here because this is a totally spoiler available, whatever you call it.
Oh, so
Spoiler
yeah,
positive
even
place.
when
Like
her
you can
mother
spoil it
unalived,
because I will be definitely
yeah.
spoiling my next one. So spoil away.
Okay.
Just warn the
So
people if
even
they
when
don't
her
listen. Yeah.
so like the thing that really griped my gears was that Muriel, first of all, her mom showed her these blank checks and she had this idea and she thought of a way to like fix the situation for the family. Like she was going to help the family and help her children. And then Muriel just took that and ran away and like blew it all on her own vacation. And I thought that was so messed up. I was like, your mother like clearly loves you. And like, I mean, and she was just trying to escape. But
Yeah.
also there was like a beginning of a solution right in front of her. Like she was so caught up in the fantasy and she screwed her mom over basically because then it made things worse for her mother and made her mother's life worse and got her sunk her even deeper. So when her mother unalived herself, I don't even she barely showed any remorse over that. It's almost like nobody showed any remorse. Like there was the funeral and then she was just like, and especially as someone who's lost both parents, like even when you have a complicated relationship with that parent, like it's like it's kind of like it really like changes you and like and it's hard, it's something you have to like push through. And it just seems like, and I think this is maybe a fault of the writing, but you barely see any reaction from Muriel, so I wonder if that's her character or just like
Huh.
kind of
I
a
think it could have been her
lackluster
character
portrayal of
because
grief in
of
the
all the
film.
difficulties that she went through in her childhood.
she's just so numb to them. I think she's so caught up in fantasy that she's numb to reality, or just it's kind of like a freeze response. Like she doesn't react to the things around her. It's like she's
Yeah.
built up such a wall.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like Muriel and her mom both were for lo like large parts of the movie, it would show them very clearly like dissociating from everything.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of how I read her grief at the end is just her dissociating from everything around her. I honestly didn't get the vibe that she wasn't very sad over the passing of her mother. Um, but honestly, like I guess maybe this is a big part of what I was talking about, but that whole family minus the dad gave me very strong neurodivergent vibes. I don't think that that was something
Mm-hmm.
deliberate by the writers at the time, but just the behaviors of the children, the mom, Muriel, everyone, it very much gave like neurodivergent traits. Like even the way they described Muriel when she was in high school, how she was like so anxious, and then so scared of everyone, and then very shy, very quiet. And then you see her older, like before she got ultimately rejected by her friend group, just kind of like not really reading their social cues, trying to mold herself to what the type of responses that they want. That very much gives um someone in the beginning stages of learning how to mask. So that was the impression that I got of her as a character, her brother, the one who wasn't getting a job and was getting verbally abused by the dad, also like the mannerisms and, just his situation also gave me similar indications, as did the sister and the mom big time. Like her response, her low self-esteem, her dissociation, and all that. It just felt like maybe a family that was dealing with like ADHD or autism. And then, add to the mix a verbally abusive father, and you have like this perfect cocktail of just anguish and numbness.
Yeah. I literally thought while I was watching the scene with her friends in the restaurant in the beginning, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so autism coded. And
Yep.
not to diagnose characters or armchair diagnose characters, especially or like assume the
Especially when we were
intentions,
not
but
professionals in psychology, though we've studied it and lived it. So,
Yeah.
disclaimer, people, we are not offering official advice.
Yeah.
yes, I was disclaiming as well.
Yeah.
I
So,
figured, I suppose I should.
like I said,
Even
I
if
don't
I
think
was
that,
a psychologist, I would be like, don't, this is still just like not an official diagnosis, because I also get skeptical of people that have the credentials, like, unless it's just basic educational surface level content. Like, if you're, it's like, about your clients and your specialties, but it's like, you're talking to strangers on the internet, and they have it, and you're hearing it from the other end, the listener, you're hearing it from your own context, which is probably wildly different, vastly different from their context.
Mhm.
So, and they're
Right,
not in the
right.
room with you,
Cultural
so
context.
they can't navigate the situation with you, so you can just hear what they say and run with it. And then but they can't hear your response to it and be like, oh, and
Mm,
then they can't gently direct you the right path
Yeah.
because they're literally you can't, they're in a
you
screen,
might be
they're a
in a
person
different
in their
country,
phone.
you know?
I mean,
Yeah.
they're literally, it's just like a face in your phone. And but like
Mm,
in their own life they have real patients, but like, so I don't even think it's corrupt, I just think it's like the nature of it.
mm.
Mhm. And I also think that Muriel's obsession with getting married and having a wedding was like a hyperfixation special interest of hers, and her
Yeah.
consistently like dissociating to ABBA, that's stimming.
Oh, for sure. And the hyperfixation on Ava, like being her special interest.
Yeah. Yeah, it felt
I
very
loved it.
much like that. I was like, oh, this girl
It was
is,
so cute though.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Huh.
I'm never gonna say no to ABBA. Like that's just some good
Me, I
nostalgia.
will, but anyway. But I will not say
Depends on
no
my
to
mood. I
Led
have to be in the mood
Zeppelin.
for it.
I think
Yeah,
anyway,
it's a multi-generational thing at our household.
Oh,
that's
I
fair.
love that.
That's fair.
Yeah.
So let's
I like
let's
when I
go
kiss
to
the teacher.
yeah, let's go to the critique people if you're ready, and then we can discuss more because this is the pre-discussion round, so to speak. But let's go to
Yes.
the critique round and then continue whatever. I like your discussion question though, Jess. Thank you. So
Yes.
Yeah.
let's hit the critique round. Did I start? I think I started last time on the no, I ended last time on the critique round. So I'll start. So I have to first give a disclaimer that I saw the musical first.
What?
When
There's a
it came out,
musical?
yes, there's a musical.
Oh, I have a scene from the musical. Can we play it?
I think we can try, but make sure you share
I
your
have the
screen.
video.
But don't play like
Oh,
if it's a short clip, I think we can do it, but not a big clip.
yeah. Hold on a
Right.
second. I'm sorry. We're gonna have to edit this one because I just got out of it by
Well,
accident.
we're just putting up a little fun raw fun thing because it is what it is.
Yeah.
This is just a one take, people, because we're just enjoying and publishing this when we do, so we get to see some behind the scenes fun
Yes.
stuff. In case you want
Also,
to make
these
your own
outfits, the
broadcast,
banana bra.
that
Love
was
it.
too hilarious. So, do you have your little clip you wanted to show? Make sure you
Yeah, I'm
just
trying to like. Oh, wait. It's just appearing as a box.
well,
But let me.
you could share it with me, and I could share a clip.
Yeah. Let me. Um. Yes. Let me do that. Um. So can we edit this out because I'm about to drop my file in the group chat in the chat.
Well, we might have time to edit, we may not have time to edit, so this is just gonna
Okay,
be
just kidding.
what it is.
Hold on, I'm gonna look up the music video. I'm gonna put in the disc. I'm gonna look it up on YouTube and then send it to you via Discord. Let me go back to
Okay,
put it
that
on.
sounds good. So yeah,
Uh,
obviously people, when you're going to make some moves on YouTube,
yeah.
it's kind of the behind the scenes way that things go. And unfortunately, we may or may not have time for a good edit here, but you can at least see how you can build it. And obviously one thing that I would suggest for people who are starting the video thing is to watch ones like this where, sometimes the internet will have or whatever will have its little issues. So don't worry, people. We'll get back to our live soon. All right.
Yes.
Let me just make sure I have
Um,
connection.
Let me see what I was the one I was gonna show. If I can find it again. Oh, I found it. Okay.
So you're gonna link us
Um,
in Discord, great.
yeah.
And then I'll just share my screen.
Okay.
Dun, dun. The only that now you got me thinking about ABBA. Dun, 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 dun.
Okay. Well, this is different than ABBA.
I
We
know, but
could
I'm
link
still
that.
thinking
I
about
can send you.
ABBA.
We should link that
We
scene
will
in the
link
description because I
it.
think everyone who listens to this should watch it.
Yeah, and I think I can show it here shortly. Let me just check.
Should
Hopefully it's
I? Okay.
available in my country. All right. I think it is. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I think I can share it in here. So share screen 2. All right. So thank you to my stage manager. Stage screen 2. Okay. All right.
Hmm. Mhm.
I think you guys will be able to see it, maybe. And,
Do, 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 do,
can
do.
you see it now? Ayla, can you see it now?
Yes.
Okay, we'll try it.
Can I? Wait, I'm gonna escape out of my screen.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the cast of Muriel's Wedding the Musical, please welcome Maggie McKenna and Madeline Jones.
This is the happiest moment of my life. Last week I was nothing. This week everybody was clapping and cheering for me. For us. For me.
What do you mean last week you were nothing?
Okay, I can't probably share more than that for the censor of YouTube. But we can share, definitely can share the clip
The
out
link.
to everybody. Yeah.
I think because it's a literal YouTube video, so it's easier to share the link for people.
Yeah, we'll just share the link out. But that's the intro.
So I interjected the section, so
I'm gonna watch.
continue.
All right, so can you share your screen again? Then
Right
I'll
now?
I'll finish
No, later.
my thoughts. Yeah. Okay. I think yeah, can you guys hear me? I had to just switch network real quick.
Yes.
Okay, great. Let's go. So I first knew the musical, okay? So that's my big first disclaimer. And so that obviously I like some musicals, but I'm not into all musicals, so to speak.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
I also think that like there's a lot that like is very good about the way that they staged the film as compared to the musical. So I'm going to probably be commenting on both sides, so just bear with it. But my rating is gonna be based on the film. Okay, so is everybody
Okay.
okay? All right.
Yes.
So, first
Good.
thing I like, of course, I'm just gonna divide this into themes because I kind of decided to do it a bit thematically this time. And then just give my overall score because, like I said, I was thinking of the musical and the film, so it's not going to be conventional, but that's okay because this show isn't conventional. This movie is not conventional. So,
Nor is the
basically, what
show that we're currently.
the show that we're doing. Anyway, so I think that what's very interesting, firstly, was the cultural appeal to me anyway. And I felt like it offered some very interesting commentary on provincialism, class aspirations, commodifications of marriage, and all that, which is super relevant in Australia and around the world, many places, especially people who want to, have an easy way to go to another country and maybe, see something as a way, like marriage as a way to get it. And in some countries, that's still a legitimate way to get your citizenship. Others have to wait like 5 years or whatever. So, with that being said, like I really do think it did a good job with looking at that and the issues of body politic or mental health aftermath, class aspirations, female solidarity, things that Jess mentioned already, and especially false promises. So that really stuck out to me. I think it's really important because in Australian cinema, it was very important in the narrative when it came out, and it also has influenced the national storytelling. But I think it hasn't been so revolutionary in terms of globally. And the stage adaptation version, the musical, actually did really well, um, which was a big deal. Um, as far as narrative stuff and dramaturgy, I think that the structure of the work is very tight. I like how it has good character arcs. The emotions of the individuals felt very, most like the characters that mattered seem to be more thought out than what we see in some shows and such today, it kind of felt like the Cinderella story goes wrong
Yeah.
narrative, which also annoyed me a bit because I don't like cliche stories. But I do like the use of ABBA sequences, and there were some parts where I was like, "Oh, that's just a crowd pleaser thing." But that's okay because you have to do that in movies or whatever to keep the audience engaged. Um, and I also do think there was this whole rite of passage, class critiques, and all, which definitely is timeless as far as different cultural situations around the world and what different places around the world are experiencing at any given time. And as far as the symbolism and musicality, not just of the musical, but also the music choices in the film. Obviously, we just mentioned ABBA, but like the wedding dress, of course, is the marker of aspiration, escapism, identity. And then the town, the iconography of the town, um, and the pop and original score kind of mixing mashups, like old and new kind of thing. That was interesting, and I think it was a bit creative too because people usually don't they don't always think to mash up those two kinds of worlds together. um but that was interesting. Colette's performance, um it was very precise and deep, and Griffiths and ensemble were very interesting as counterpoints. The Muriel and Rhonda characters, they were very, they seem to stand out. Of course, supporting characters are a little bit more one-dimensional in some things. I do think that all the costumes were very interesting, and the mise en scène and editing and so forth, they do show some really good sensibility as far as, what's gonna sell, what's gonna hit the audience. So it's pretty confident. Um, I also think that's why it was able to transition over to a musical so easily. And
Mhm.
it does have those humor beats, right? That people like with broad cultural appeal. And I do think also, hey Jess, can you share your screen so we have something to see, please, for the audience? Also we have like this whole thing, it's like a cult favorite. In some ways, still today, especially in Australia. And so it balances integrity and accessibility, though it's somewhat, I would say, niche, obviously, because it's a very Australian story. It really resonates there, and it may not resonate everywhere, but it does resonate in, I would say, places that have been British holdings before, or relating to those cultures. So I think as far as the engagement of the same, I would say that the for the market appeal, yes, it does balance the integrity and accessibility, and it did have a modest budget with a good return. So I think
Mhm.
that worked. And the ABBA numbers mixed with, like I said, with the original score was clever, but it wasn't really radical. And it can be updated for the social media age. So that's perceptive, but it's not radically experimental. So it combines pop, music, theater, and so forth. So it can cross disciplines pretty easily, which is great. And as far as the emotional impact, you can feel pity, genuine anger, hope, and so forth, which I think also helped it to move, and self-realization, which helped it to move into the stage space as well. So with that being said, I will give it a total score of 83%. Now I'm not a person who really loves musicals, so that's of course my own bias, but I think it worked as far as the audience it's intended to reach, which is why I didn't rate it lower, because um it is a bit campy and all that, which really I'm like, oh really? But at the same time, I think it did the work, it did the job, it was meant for a certain type of audience, it did the job. So yeah, that's my thought on the same.
Yay. Thank
And I think
you.
I maybe need to share my screen because I don't know what. Jess, are you okay? Did that thing not work?
Yeah, I had to turn my audio back on because I realized it was off. So I had to press escape. Sorry. I'm
Okay, so if
back.
you can just go back in the screen, then we'll see it again.
Oh,
Because we
arf.
don't see your screen right now, that's all.
Okay. We're professionals, guys.
We are.
We
We are,
are.
but we didn't decide to edit this, so we wanted to show you the behind the scenes. In case you want to do
We're
your
being
own
very
podcast.
camp
'Cause
right now.
yeah, we're
Just
being very
kidding.
candid, actually. We're
Camp.
being very we're camp and candid. Because we actually like for this one, I think it's okay because this story is vulnerable too. So it's
Yeah.
okay having technical things going on. And thank you, dear audience, for your flexibility. So if you can try to share again, that's cool. If not, I'll just share a placeholder. I think it works now. Yeah, it works. All right,
Oh,
go ahead. Next person.
I'll go.
Oh, wait,
So,
that didn't actually share, Jess. I'm gonna just
oh,
share. I'm gonna share like a placeholder. So go ahead, Ayla. I'll just share a placeholder.
okay. So for this movie, I felt like it weaved a lot of different um stories and energies together. It wasn't just campy and fun and over the top. There were moments of deep introspection, scenes that left you feeling a little off base, off kilter. Um, there were moments of absurdity and moments of reflection. So, I feel like it's kind of hard to put it staunchly in just one category. But I do feel like people who are fans of musicals and rom-coms would enjoy this movie, but it's not something that is specifically just for those two categories. Um, as far as cultural appeal, I give it a 7. I do think that it did explore some conflicting themes, but it didn't delve like that deep, especially when it comes into the effects of the sustained verbal abuse by the father of Muriel. Like with the racism displayed in the movie, of course, I don't think that they need to be giving edicts from a lectern about it, but
Right.
it also I feel like was not acknowledged enough. Particularly like when you look at the circumstances of the guy that Muriel ends up marrying is just like, oop, oh yeah, they're the poor father, the poor parents, they're in South Africa right now, and a black man has just been killed, and she comes to a realization, she's like, oh, are you rich? And he's like, oh yes, like my family is rich. They bought this flat, and then it's just like that's it. Like there's there's no acknowledgement beyond that throwaway line. Um,
Right.
and at first he is very standoffish, but then towards the end of the movie, you see him kind of warm up and seem more sympathetic. So, but like this is a movie from the early 90s. Don't think that time was particularly in
Right.
with the intricacies of race dynamics in history. But yeah, that was something that had stood out to me. And so that's why I didn't really give it a bigger score under cultural appeal. So we're doing a 7. As far as popular appeal, I would say I would give it an 8. I did mention earlier that people who enjoy campy movies, rom-coms. I feel like even like those like teen comedy movies, musicals, they would all enjoy this movie, but I do feel like it has more popular appeal because of how it weaves um, conflicting themes, and it does explore some heavy topics beyond that, like just fun, frothy ABBA numbers. Uh, as far as,
Right. That's the
yeah,
key. It did that balance thing so well.
yeah,
You said it. Yeah.
yeah, it did. Like there were, I think, so we can do spoilers, right?
Yeah, of course. This is a spoilerific show. Any spoilers you ever want to say them because and actually this episode we're gonna call it unfiltered version. So
Yeah.
that's behind the
Very
scenes episode.
unfiltered.
Yeah.
Super unfiltered. Oh
Yeah.
shoot.
So
So
spoilers, unfiltered, whatever, you can bring your cat in here. I don't care. It's the unfiltered version, just for the hell of it.
I just
awesome.
my
Kind
mic
of like,
died,
that
so
podcast on Being. They'll sometimes do unfiltered versions of the podcast. We can totally do that with this one because of the
yes.
internet thing. So we're doing it. So anything you want,
Yeah.
as long as it's within
So
reach of people. Anyway.
so basically like the scenes, any scenes that really involve the mom, like were kind of like a felt like a gut punch, especially like after she had committed suicide, like that I actually had to like pause the movie and like
Mm,
take a breather. It felt so tragic.
yeah.
Especially because like this like especially true for times past, like I guess for boomer parents and stuff, before there was like really vocabulary for all of this.
Can
But
you also just explain boomer to our audience because our audience is everywhere. Like I have people a lot of countries. So just
sure. Yeah.
do that. With you one in mind. So like if it's a US, if we have US specific terms that are not like everywhere in the world, just just take a little definition. Or I think eventually we'll put a little definition on the screen, but for now I don't have it. We don't have much time for that. So yeah, sorry.
Oh, no problem. So boomers it just refers to baby boomers. It's a generation that's like born after the end of World War II, up till like I think early 60s,
Yeah.
1964.
Yeah.
So yeah, that generation.
Good. Thank you so much. That's great because we have a lot of people from
Yeah.
like way different places and they'll be like, what is that slang?
Oh,
Anyway,
wait until we talk about the old okay boomer meme back in the day.
Oh. Yeah.
yeah.
There
Anyway,
wasn't
just
even
keep going.
yeah.
Sorry, I didn't
We
want to
don't even we
sidetrack
just
you,
given up
but
now. We don't even
yeah.
say okay boomer anymore. We just gave up.
Yeah. Um,
Just like a deep sigh.
yeah. Oh gosh. Okay,
Sorry.
so what I was saying is that I don't think that there was particularly a lot of available vocabulary to describe the struggles that occurs within mothers after they become mothers. The just how isolating it can be, the disruption to hormones, mental health, like all that postpartum lovely jazz, and how isolating it can be, especially when you don't have a present partner and a supportive partner, and how that really erodes one's sense of self. I think now, like a lot of the younger moms are a lot more vocal about it, and just like the mental toll of it all. So, like from the beginning, I could see that this is kind of like a shell of a woman, who, because of a bad marriage, and when you have a bad marriage, ultimately you're not really gonna have the best mother or parenting experience, that can really take a toll on a person mentally and physically. And that's what happened to her. And as a consequence of that, her husband doesn't respect her, takes her for granted, and sees her as someone who isn't really her original self, a person full of vitality, someone worthy of being loved, and an attractive person. Because of that all, he decides to carry on with affairs, and you see her sort of devolve further and further. And so like her character and her story arc is like very tragic. And the when she finally does take herself out, it was very heavy. I did have to take a bit of a break and sift through everything. Um, so that was kind of like an aside for my rating. Let's see. And then
Don't
for,
watch this if you're depressed, guys. If you are in a bad place mentally, um, don't watch this until after that cloud has passed.
yes.
That's probably a good suggestion because it's a heavy movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be fooled. Don't be fooled.
Yeah, or maybe, depending on your personality, it might be exactly what you need in your dark moment because it is such a contrast.
Yeah.
So take advice.
When I saw the title, like Muriel's wedding, and then we get to the part where it says Mariel's wedding, I'm like, oh, okay, so like this movie ends with like, I guess the conclusion of her journey of self-discovery. Obviously, this Mariel wedding isn't going to work out, the marriage isn't going to work out, but then she finds herself or she finds another man, and so there's going to be a second wedding, but ultimately, that didn't happen. She, I guess, just marries herself in a metaphorical sense.
That's true. She
She
Yeah.
marries
marries her
herself.
best friend. She marries her
That
best friend,
yes, that is also,
even though same-sex marriage wasn't yet legal in Australia. But like, well, let's retcon.
yeah. And then as far as like legacy potential slash historical significance, I would give it a 7. I feel like it probably does carry um significance, especially for people in Australia. Um, and then through it being adapted into a musical, I do feel like that added to the legacy that's being left behind from this work from the early 90s. So yeah, that is my rating for that category. As far as mastery of medium, I give it a 8. I think the editing was done well. I feel like set design was solid. Music choices, great. Obviously, before we were just talking about how fun ABBA is. And I feel like that's true, like across many generations. Like it just ABBA never dies. Like Gen Z, that refers to, I think, generation born between the years of 1998 and 2016. I'm not sure. But yeah, each like generation rediscovers ABBA. So
It's
they're,
very interesting how it's
yeah.
perennially coming up.
Sorry?
I said it's always interesting to see how that's perennially coming up.
Yeah. Um, so I give it a solid 8. I feel like it did a great job on all fronts with music, with the set design, costumes and things like that. I think also they did a really great job with Muriel's hair. It goes through so many different transformations. I love how, like, even though she wasn't really at the end of her journey, but when she first moves to Sydney, her hair is like the darkest shade it was throughout the whole movie, and it just really complemented her features really well. And then you sort of see that dark hair fade throughout the movie. So I loved how they played with like her hairstyle, hair color, haircut, that type of thing throughout the movie to sort of visually clue in the audience on where she is in her narrative arc. So that's my score for mastery of medium. I feel for clear purpose and intention. I give it another 8. I think that it isn't like a Blair and a bullhorn type of movie where it says, "Oh yes, this is our intention for this work." I feel like there's a lot of subtlety playing in. But I do think that the writers did have a specific goal for the story, and it came through the movie. Uh, we
Right.
got a yeah, we got a layered story dealing with deeply flawed people who are also tragic. And somehow, even though they had many moments where they were not likable, there is just this undercurrent of just human moments. So that's my score for that. For effective use of symbolism, I'll give it a 7. I think that it did an adequate job. Personally, I did not see like a whole lot of symbols being used throughout the movie. I do think, like I had mentioned earlier, that there was symbolism in the way that Muriel's appearance changed, also Rhonda's appearance. Throughout the movie, there were like big shifts happening with her appearance, whether it was her hair, makeup, demeanor, that type of thing. For effective storytelling, I will give it a 8 as well. I feel like I'm giving so many 8s and 7s for this movie, but it's just like it's a good, solid movie, you know?
It's
Um,
like it's like I can't complain about the story arc and things like that. I just don't like musical. So I gave it a B.
it, it's
Anyway.
not your cup of tea.
Not your cup of tea, that's the tea
That is the
for
tea. That is
me.
the tea, mate. That is the
She
tea.
says with her own
Holiday.
mug of tea.
I also have tea
Yeah,
right now in my pretty little cup.
cute.
Yes.
You will
You
see
should
just how cute this cup is. I'm gonna share it with you.
you should
Anyway,
actually upload a picture of your mug to
it's not a
correspond.
mug though. It's like literally a thermos, a cup,
Oh,
but it's still
Man,
pretty. Anyway,
yeah.
so keep
Uh,
going. We
oh
keep
yeah.
sidetracking you. I'm so sorry.
And honestly, I feel like that's the t best type
But
of
that's the kind
conversation.
of film this is, so let's go with
Yeah. Yeah,
it.
exactly. For performance quality, I give it a 9. Like Colette did so good. I cannot get over it. And then I forget what the actress's name is who played Rhonda, but she also did a lovely job. But Colette
Yeah,
was
I like.
so
Yeah, she
magnetic.
was famous too, and this was Toni Collette's like breakthrough role in her career. She was like in her 20s or something when this film was made. It was 1994, and it was also a breakthrough for. And I'm looking at the name of Rhonda because I should know it's Rachel Griffiths because she's also on
Yeah,
16
you
Under,
should
and that's
know.
how I know
Yep.
Rachel Griffiths, but
She was also in like my best friend's wedding.
oh, okay. Yeah, so this is definitely post that. So I'm sure, this was like also launched her career.
Yeah.
This. So commercially it was a great success for the women involved.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean, they were so good in it. Like I think Rhonda, for the little bit of material she was given, Rachel Griffiths really like ran with it and like really made it a standout performance as well. So, because she
She
had
was
a complicated character arc too, a little bit.
no, she
Yeah,
was
the
so
thing is, like,
magnetic.
these people have like what I love about these actresses, they have this ability to just enter that character space so smoothly. Oh,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
fine. Good job, guys. Though I don't
Uh,
like this kind of film, usually. Seriously, I have to give them credit where credit's due because people try to make films like this now, right? That actually hit like that, but they don't hit.
Yes.
It's so hard. It's so
It's
hard.
because they're too, like, when you try to make a movie like this today, it's too insistent on itself. It's too aware of itself. And I really like how the whole movie, like, her whole thing was that she was obsessed with ABBA. And it had even a scene that was like them lip syncing to Waterloo and doing the dance and recreating the music video. But it really didn't feel too, like, overly put on. I'm kind of so sick of Easter eggs. I don't want my brain to do extra work, and I'm also sick of everything being an iteration of something else I saw 5 years ago, which is
Oh
an
yeah, hate
iteration.
that. Oh, hate
Just too
that.
many iterations.
Stop
We are
doing it.
over iterated. We are over iterated. I like, we've really like run post structuralism to the ground, and we need to make new shit.
Oh, that's
we
so
can
funny. I need
we
because
need to make new things to that the kids 20 years from now, that Gen Alpha can reference. Generation Alpha are like the children
the current
generation, and
children,
Yes.
the current,
they're like in elementary school right now. We
yeah,
need
and
to
that's
make
fair.
they're gonna be like, we're gonna be out of references, and all the references will be overdone, and nothing will mean, it'll be all
I think
meaninglessness.
what we need to do is like just get creative back in the creativity back in the arts. But can we like so where do we get in your critique? Sorry, Ayla.
Oh, right, no problems. And Jess, I need you to hold on to
Hold on to
your
that
eye
thought for a little bit. Yeah.
for no, for my news later, for our news little section, because it pertains to what I'm bringing in to the
Oh,
table.
awesome.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, for performance quality, I did give it a 9, just because like they were so great. Technical quality, I gave it an 8. I didn't see any really glaring
Yeah, there
issues.
weren't any big problems. Unlike
Sorry?
like there weren't any big problems.
Yeah. And then for where's the next section? Effective ROI. I would say like an 8.5.
Yeah, especially because they made a musical afterwards.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. They got a musical out of it, which, to what you're saying, got a lot of popularity. So
Yeah.
8.5. And then for market appeal slash commercial viability, I also give it another 8.5. I think it goes back to the popular appeal section. Um, but I did notice that it's not really available on streaming services, which I feel like is such a letdown.
Mm,
I mean, you can rent it, but it's not something like,
right.
for instance, like you pull up Prime or Netflix or whatever, and it's there. So I feel like it's not expanding the base of people who know about this movie. Like there's a new generation of people just waiting to discover this movie, and they just don't have access to it. Um, so that is my rating for that. In total, I gave it an 87.
Wow, we weren't too far away.
What was your
Yeah.
score again?
I was 83. We weren't too
Oh,
far
okay.
away.
Yeah, and
I
this
give
is
it an 87 as well. An
Wow, dang,
87.
we're closer than we thought.
Dang.
we're clicking.
I was like, damn, I think I'm gonna, so, dang, I'm gonna be so different than these guys because I can't give it a good
I'm
score.
not
I know
gonna
you
be
guys
going,
like
yeah.
musicals, but yeah,
Since I presented the film, I won't go through all the categories, but for
they
cultural
just give you an
impact,
overall one. Yeah.
yeah, the 87. And then for the cultural, I think I would give it a score of a 6, because I think the movie itself isn't, but I do think that it has like a long term. There's people who have written like that have like, there are articles, think pieces about it, and it's been analyzed by people,
Right.
since its making, and looped in with other films around that time that are made and set in Australia that are representative of Australia in a certain place and time.
Mm.
So, but I
Mm-hmm.
would say the movie itself, 6.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really fair because honestly, like it did make a huge impact in Australia, and it was big for Australia to do that too
Mm-hmm.
at the time because they were getting their into their film industry kind of like scale up time is what I felt.
Yeah, it's refreshing to see like certain familiar formula in a total different cultural context.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. 100%.
It's so
So,
funny that it was on the Golden Coast because it's like such a bougie place.
yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Gold Coast used to be like, of course, where they found a ton of gold, obviously, but um then it kind of went through a boom and bust thing as well. So yeah, it's very interesting to see how this
It's
all.
also where H2O was filmed.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't really pay
Clear.
attention to that one, so makes sense. Makes
Yeah.
sense. All right.
I think
You think what?
I was just going to say, I think like all the teen girls and preteen girls who grew up watching that show probably all really wanted to live there for a hot minute.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So ironic considering the film's
Portrayal,
metaphor
yeah.
of escapism, trying to like the being of playing a role and how that doesn't really work.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think for Q&A? Does anyone have any questions to ask? Because
I mean,
Jess
I
already
personally
started us
don't.
off with one.
Yeah.
You don't have any? Okay, I'll just give one.
Okay.
Okay. So my one question is, um, I want to know from you guys what, I mean, for you, what do you think this film has as far as an influence? I should say, what from this film do you think has influenced works that are popular now with younger generations in your context, where you are? So has it like been trending at all with socials like clips from it? Has it
No.
homage at all?
Not
Or
really.
like not all?
No,
Okay,
it
okay,
has.
got it.
Yeah, there's a lot of potential in that. That's what I'm saying. Like,
It's definitely one of those cult hits. I'm gonna say that I do think that so there is like a gay zeitgeist, like an LGBTQ zeitgeist, where there's certain things that end up becoming part of the gay canon, even if none of the characters are gay or if it was like meant to be, it just like is in the gay canon. And I think Muriel's Wedding is in the gay canon, but other than that, not mainstream.
So basically, you feel like it reached a certain niche of people, essentially.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's
that's what I want to know. Yeah.
I do think we're in a considering the like economic fallout happening in the US right now, I think this is like the perfect storm of time to like
To
for people
bring
to
it back
discover
up.
it. I think yeah, I think it would really
Okay.
resonate with people. It would really resonate hard for better or worse.
Yeah, that makes sense. So
I
we,
think it's like a worldwide thing because like there's been this resurgence in something called the Celtic tiger.
yes, I know the
Um
Catholic type.
yeah, like people are like hearing about it for the first time and the economic distress that followed and how it had such a horrifying effect on Ireland. So like that's been coming up recently
Yeah,
thanks
Mm.
to a song
I think
by
it's in
an
certain,
Irish
Came
singer.
out. I love
Female.
her.
Oh yeah,
Hi,
she's amazing.
I love
yeah, I think
her.
it's in certain places where they're experiencing, because there's places that are growing, places that are not growing. And I think it's a good time to bring it up for the places that are experiencing more cultural situations that are harder these days. Because I think in some ways, ironically, in some ways you can also find a little hope in it.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to
Yeah.
say the sky is golden, and you guys are going to be like, what is the story when we get into some of the stories that I picked? They're pretty dark. But I'm not trying to find the rosy lining and everything, but I think there is a little bit of hope which people can connect to
I
and stuff.
think people like to see themselves in a film, and just having everything wrapped up in a bow at the end in every film can be kind of nauseating.
It's
So
awful. Yes, it's terrible. And
I
a lot
think
of
when
European
you're
cinema
down,
doesn't do
yeah,
that.
when you're struggling, I think it's comforting to see, obviously you want them to change. There's something, they're different than the beginning of the film. That's like a good story. But uh
Right.
when someone's
What I mean
struggling,
is like she
they
was
want to
able
relate
to
to
find
it, not
herself,
like,
right? But
yeah.
like it didn't all end up the way she wanted. And so
Mm-mm.
in some ways it like can give someone hope, like if they went through a difficult thing and they changed. It's like how suffering can shape you, right? And it's not like it's always gonna be the pie in the sky, happy days, whatever. But anyway, that's all.
Yeah.
So next, excuse me, next we have the, unless you guys want to discuss more points on the same, I think we already did our little discussion a little bit earlier than the previous. So let's just move to, well, we did discuss a little bit just now too, but let's move to the entertainment, business, news, trivia, pop culture, and other section. So what do you guys have to offer us for commentaries and consideration?
Ayla, what's your thing?
Okay, so my thing. So it's only recent now because a the trailer was released earlier this month, but this project was already subject to some criticism and controversy from when they even announced the casting of the movie.
Mhm.
But after the release of the Wuthering Heights adaptation trailer, like it just sort of imploded all over again. And disclaimer, I am not a fan of the book. I have tried multiple times. It's just not for me, okay? I have very limited energy or tolerance for really bad people. And the book is about some terrible characters. I could not get into it. But basically, oh, a couple years back, it was announced that Emerald Fennell would be directing a new adaptation of Wuthering Heights. I believe this is the same director behind the very popular but also controversial Saltburn movie that came out. And people had some concerns right after hearing that she was going to be directing the movie. And then those concerns increased when they found out that Margot Robbie was casted as Catherine, the main character. And the person casted to play Heathcliff was Jacob Elordi. And oh, funny, they're both Australian. Nice tie-in, not nice inadvertent tie-in
Thank
to our
I
you.
think
episode.
Jacob, I think Jacob Elordi will make a great Heathcliff. Like it's gonna be, I'm gonna predict that it's gonna be on par with Heath Ledger's Joker. Just I think he can hit that darkness, and he's also actually age appropriate looking. Yeah.
Well, it's not so much about his acting abilities, it's about like historically the novel plays
Right.
on many different layers of societal issues like, racism, classism, and
True.
the way that Heathcliff was described in the book was very much a person of color, commonly like envisioned as Romani. And the tragedy
Oh.
of the story is that they were both so young, but they were such kind of terrible, selfish people that they ruined the lives of everyone around them. And it was only later, like in the next generation, that their, I guess, mess was sort of starting to repair. So that's kind of like the tragedy of the story is that they were so young and that he was, of a lower societal class and that he was seen as a person of color. So they might both be really talented actors, but the casting itself kind of puts a big question mark on how are they going to even address the central themes of the story.
And it's also, yeah, and it's sort of like, because Jacob Elordi, like, visually, he has dark brown hair, and it's like a whitewashing of non-black people of color,
Yeah.
which is, I think, which is a slippery slope. And like Italian, the whitening or the assimilation of Italians and certain Asian immigrants assimilating into whiteness, and it all has one thing in common. I think we know what
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, it's a big problem within the entertainment industry. Like even when you look on the casting of Middle Eastern characters, like a lot of times they'll cast Italian or South Asian actors, which like I always love seeing more representation all around, but it just kind of comes to like, oh, okay, so they just have dark hair. I guess they can like fill in for any sort of racial or ethnic minority or a character from like the global south. Like it goes under that umbrella. So it's been a while since I read Wuthering Heights. I'm not that emotionally invested in the whole movie situation, but that has been a big part of the I guess dialogue that has been happening. And then other people are mad because it's erotic. Like the trailer that they released, it was like quite erotic, and I guess that wasn't really part of the story. So there's like all these conversations of like, like our adaptations, do they actually need to be similar to the story? How similar do they need to be? Do they need to be copy
It also
paste?
depends on cultural awareness
Yeah.
and sensibility,
Yeah.
right? Because
Is
in
this
some ways,
yeah.
this just to be the devil's advocate, right? That
Yeah.
story comes from a very particular cultural context. And
Yeah.
it's as if I was adapting Nana Buju and putting certain people there, right? So
Mhm.
people have a lot of strong feelings about it, and I think sometimes these entertainment business people, maybe they will be putting something into a certain contextual thing for a wider audience, right?
Hmm.
But they don't think of the cultural sensibilities. For example, if you are going, I am a very large part Celtic, okay?
Hmm.
And I like when people do fusions and things like that. That's fun. But if you take the original music without like the permission of the original cultural groups, right? Then or something like that, and you mock it or you do something else, that's where I think we cross the line, right? For me, I don't mind if there are adaptations or people wanting to portray characters in different ways, as long as the core of the story is told in an appropriate way. Do you see what I mean? According to especially if it's a cultural story that really matters. But Wuthering Heights, though, I don't think it's one of those cultural stories that's like really, 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 really matters. I'm sorry, people.
Really,
It's
really
not
what?
like a core
Joseph?
cultural story. Do you know what I mean? It's not a core cultural
No,
story of English literature, to be very frank.
it's ahead of its time. I think that's why it's so iconic and remembered,
Right,
because
but
it's
it's not like
so
if you do an
unusual.
adaptation on it with different
Yeah,
characters, different cultures, that it's really gonna be that big of a deal, to be very honest, as long as you're respectful to the story. But like
right.
there's other stories that are more important, that's really important to honor and respect the culture of those individuals. And I'm saying that, like, for example, if you take some of the stories, because some of my family's from the Alsace region in France. If you take some of our deep, deep cultural stories and you adapt them with other kinds of people, that sometimes takes away from the original story in some way. Does that make sense? So like I think it's a fine line between sometimes it's okay to do that, and I think sometimes it also is not okay to do that, depending on the permission that you get from the original people that have the story. And I would say that across cultures. So that's my little rant. Sorry, I gotta add a little aside. And you guys can feel free to disagree, but I think there are some stories that are sacred or special, or like very, very important for the cultural ethos. So for me, I don't really care that they're adapting that one because I don't feel like it's one of the top cultural stories from, yeah.
I don't know. I guess just as an English lit person, like Wuthering Heights is a big one. I was it my cup of tea? No, it wasn't, but it featured heavily in many different literature classes, whether it's like Gothic literature, women in literature, film and literature. Um, it just had such a big presence within that community that I don't know, I feel like it has a lot of historical significance too because of the Bronte sisters themselves and their legacy.
Yes, exactly. I do think it's one of those. I think it's
Well, that's
very
fair.
in the 19th century, also a lot of Gothic literature, Gothic romanticism. So it's very much, it was of its time and ahead of its time at the same time.
Hmm.
Crazy.
Right. Yeah, like there are some other choices that they made, like they're going to include some new songs by Charlie XCX, which I feel like I guess is an interesting way of like updating the the what's the word? Updating the
It's
story,
just
I
So
guess.
so
it's
let's
just
let's
like
just take
make
it
a
from
new
this.
story. Make a
Right,
new
right.
story. Stop slapping like familiar titles on it because it's business. They just want to sell and so they
Right.
pick a popular title because it's safe.
Yeah. Yeah, see,
Makes
that's
sense.
why I told you before, hold on to your ire. It might come back.
Right.
Like I agree that it is an important cultural story for the canon of Gothic literature, right? But I think also it's like I could care less, honestly, because it's not my like deep culture story, right? So that's where
Right.
I messed up.
Yeah, I
But
mean, if you just
the
some
other part
people
is
like
though, like the other part is though, why do you keep making remixes of this story?
Yeah.
yeah, like there
Like
was
you're
already one
saying.
a few years ago, like 10
Yeah.
years ago that came out that actually was good and actually did what this trailer was trying to do. Anyway.
I haven't watched a Wuthering Heights movie in a hot minute. I think back in like, oh wow, it's been a really hot minute. It's been like 2010, I think. It's been a while.
Man, I feel old now. 2010 is wild.
I
I
know.
don't even it's depressing, guys, every
I
day.
had this
Every
like this thing happen where they like reached out to me from my old theater and they're like, "Oh, you were here so many years ago. Would you mind sharing your experiences back then?" I'm like, "Oh my God. Oh my word. Now I feel old."
Oh my gosh. Or being called auntie, I die.
Oh, they always call me that. They call me auntie or senora. So, yep, I'm auntie level now.
Yeah.
I guess I'm theor in my mind I am, but I still read as very young, so I don't know. People still perceive me as being 25. Not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
they
I see.
talk to
Well,
me
that's
like
nice to hear
25, and
because
I'm like,
I'm always
dude.
auntie. I'm always
Yeah.
auntie now. I've reached my auntie. I've reached my white couch era, people. I'm ready to be auntie. Well, also I'm the
Yeah.
mother of a lot of people, so I've just received my
Yeah.
auntie-ness. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. That's my news.
Okay. Wow. So go, Jess. You ready for yours? Because I still have to like.
I don't really have one. I guess because I think I spoke a lot already, but
Well, but
oh
is there
yeah,
anything
the
that you saw
VMAs.
like coming across your
Oh
feed
yeah, the
that you found was
VMAs.
interesting?
So a few weeks ago in our episode, I brought up Sabrina Carpenter's album concept cover. And
Hmm.
then, so the album has been released and it's her most successful album yet. I actually think it's a
Good
really
for
great
her.
album. And it's very influenced by ABBA. I think she's
Oh,
open
that's
about
funny.
that.
Here comes Alba
Yeah,
again.
because she grew up on ABBA and you can see the influences in there. I've been I've listened to most of the album front to back, but I like because it has a very consistent, it's like there's a lot of a very strong continuity, and
Oh,
it's all
good.
about
Finally. I
relationship. It's
didn't
all
write it
about
just for
relationship,
EP.
and it has some very unique takes on dating men, and maybe it's based on her experience or just very common experiences, common and relatable, but not cliche. And
Uh-huh.
she performed at the VMAs, and there have been a lot of great VMA performances. And she did an homage to Ms. Britney Spears's VMA performance with like the costume, like the sparkly bra, and some of the dance
Interesting.
moves. Like even before people commented on it, I was like, this is giving me Britney vibes. I like this. And she also featured a whole like all these famous drag queens on stage with her and had all these signs saying like protect the dolls and protect trans kids. And so she used the platform to stand up for for trans people, and just for the um just the heinous like witch hunt scapegoating that's happening right now in the US
Hmm.
and UK, honestly in the
Yeah.
UK too.
Not just the US.
There's a few
And the
countries that
UK,
are happening. Yeah.
oh yeah, but I mean just like right now, it's like front and center. But and yeah, the US and the UK and
A few other places.
etc.
Yeah. Okay. So I'll share my story. Of course, it's going to be from performing arts because that's where I live in my head and my
Mm-hmm.
life. And actually, I want to share that the Carlos Acosta's dance company called Acosta Danza just presented a new work called Llamada, and they're presenting all over the place, and they are presenting also I believe they're presenting in London. Yes,
Mm.
they're going to present at Sandler's Wells in London from the 23rd to the 27th. And that's part of their anniversary tour. And what I love about Carlos Costa, and I'll share with you guys the link to his website in the show notes. But what I love about Carlos Acosta is that takes through the he takes his amazing and wonderful ballet training, both modern and classical, and he applies that to very interesting stories, whether it's stories from Cuba, which is what this one is about also, and it's part of their 10 years anniversary. And he also does it with other kinds of stories, like he did a thing on Black Sabbath. Like, for example, a whole ballet about that. So he's always innovating. And when I found out that they were going to be coming to London a little bit later this month, I was very happy to hear that. And I think that it's something that really it's such a really powerful piece. Because it talks about identity, it talks um, about youth. It talks about many different themes that are really powerful, actually. And it's original choreography by him. I absolutely love what he does. And if you are in London, you should go. That is all I have to say.
That sounds like
And
a
I'm not
great
sure
time.
where else he's touring, but they're touring a bunch. I think they're touring a bunch of places.
Yeah.
So do go there if you can, ladies and gentlemen.
I wish. Go in my stead.
Yeah, I can't actually go because we're in production pretty hardcore right now, but I know some people who are going, so we'll see what they say.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
So yeah, I would go for you, but unfortunately I have shows that weekend.
Well, can someone from the audience go in my stead?
Someone should go and comment on the feed because it's gonna be really good. It's gonna be really good.
Yeah, if you're in London, go see it.
You better
Or
go
near
if you're in London or
if
near
you're
there.
in driving range of London
Please go
or
because it's wonderful.
range,
And in Sandler's Wells
do it.
is a good venue as well. So yeah, that's the little story for this little thing. All right. So for final thoughts, thank you very much, everybody, for listening to this lovely unfiltered version of our pod. If you made it all the way here, you're a rock star. And I think it actually does match with this film that we were discussing. So it kind of just happened organically. We weren't originally thinking to make this an unfiltered episode, but hey, it worked out. So now you can see the process of how podcasts are made, and we may do some unfiltered episodes from time to time as well as we go along. So if you get one, then great. And if for those people that have OCD and were like, what the heck? Well, then please don't watch these unfiltered episodes because you may have a headache or a heart attack because this is show business. And once again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all of your support and all the people that like to watch our episodes. Even though we have a small group right now, I think it can eventually grow up to be something interesting for the world. So thank you so much. And we'll be back next time with another space that is very interesting. And I think we're going to US, right? Ayla? I think we're going to US next, right?
Are we?
Ooh.
Let me check.
Wait.
Let me double check.
Someone check
No.
because I think we may be going to US next.
China.
Oh, we're going to
China.
China, right?
China.
Yeah, I just saw my note.
Yeah,
Thank
there's
you.
still a little bit for USA. USA is exciting.
Yeah, we're going to China,
Yes.
and it's gonna be really fun as well. It's a really cool piece. So really looking forward to presenting that. And then of course later on we'll go to US as well, which Ayla has a really cool piece about that. So as we go, we're going from bigger to smaller spaces and places and territories. So you can just choose the ones that interest you and skip the ones you don't like. But I think each place has its own fresh vibe and really looking forward to discussing with everybody. So thanks for joining us.
Yay.